Blick, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, Peter. How about yourself?
Well, just running just a little bit late today. That's okay. We wanted to definitely save you for the announcement, kind of give you a little suspense. And we're here live at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Rays, who lost last night, we may talk about them a little bit. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Tampa Bay Bucs, definitely get down here. Great service, great food. As always, been around since 1992. And the big time announcement is during the regular season, when the Bucs are on the road, the Sports Web comes to Ferg's those days. So if you're looking for an opportunity to talk Bucs football, if you want to get on the mic, you definitely have the opportunity. Pre, half, and also post-game shows. More fan response in the pre. Definitely do some halftime. Yours truly, along with Blake Cabell, Al Keck, possibly Leo Haggerty. We're kind of just setting this up right now. Travis Bailey will be along in a little bit. But all Bucs Report guys are definitely welcome. All Sports Web hosts are welcome. So we're definitely going to do this right. And again, the big time announcement is the fact that we are going to have watch parties for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during the road games. So what do you think about that, huh?
That's
pretty cool?
That's pretty awesome, Peter. As we get to be here all the time.
You sound so excited about it. Come on, get excited about it.
I'm just excited to get this thing rolling. Talk about today's topic.
Yeah, well, today's topics, of course, and it's been a busy week if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, having to do with not only JPP and the supposed minor car accident at the beginning of the week. Now it's turned into basically a nightmare scenario where JPP could miss the next 5 to 6 months, not going to get surgery on it, fractured vertebrae in his neck. Then you have Kendall Beckwith, which is not a surprise. We kind of talked about that. He's being put on the non-football
injury list.
Injury list. Again, non-football, non-active. I mean, if you're on the injury list, you're non-active. But 2 years in a row, that's not a good thing. And then the Gerald McCoy comments last night. So let's start it out with JPP here. And we're live on Bucs Report, BucsReport.com. I'm Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. If you missed the big-time announcement, watch parties during the regular season. I think we can do it for preseason when they're on the road. So get out here, Buckaholics, all you Buck groups that want to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers around the NFL. We're going to definitely have hosts. We'll definitely have a lot of content. It'll be live streaming. There's no other TV station that's doing it. There's no other Bucs platform that's doing it because they can't do it. We can. We do it on the evolution of sports talk television. So let's get to it here. JPP. Minor car accident, and now it doesn't look like it's so minor after all. In your opinion, do you think, first and foremost, is it the right thing to not have surgery? And second, do you believe what he's saying and he's going to come back in the next 5 to 6 months?
It's really up to the doctors and himself at this point. I mean, I can base my opinion, but I'm not Jason Pierre-Paul. I don't know how he really feels to say yay or nay, but to me, him sticking it out instead of getting the surgery, so that means he doesn't lose any money. Because remember, if he misses, if the Bucs get rid of him, they only owe him half the salary, the 14. So, and it's in his best interest to try to play because he'll get paid he'll be guaranteed his full salary for the season. So I get that part on his behalf. But to be really honest, to see where his injury really is, where his injury's at, only time will tell in case those reports come out, which I don't know if they are going to come out because there are some restrictions on giving out somebody's medical records and stuff like that.
Well, Adam Schefter found that out the hard way when he had to settle out of court, of course, a couple years ago, the fireworks accident where supposedly Schefter gets a hold of the medical records, actually takes a picture of it, then has to settle out of court. Of course, he's the first one that has the report of JPP basically having a fractured vertebrae in his neck. But it's a tricky situation. It's not just a football injury at this point. It's a way of life. It's his, how's it going to affect his way of life? Is he going to be paralyzed? On the football side of it, it's a blow to this Buccaneer defense because most consistent pass rusher, they get him for a third-round pick, 12.5 sacks last year, looked very good against a lot of odds where people say, well, can he do it one hand? He did it just fine last year. So now you have a big-time question coming in. Noah Spence, Shaq Barrett, Anthony Nelson. I love Devin White because, you look at the need at that point. He seems like a tremendous linebacker, although he hasn't played a first game yet, but just the leadership skills alone. But you had Josh Allen there. Do you think that kind of comes back to haunt them eventually?
Of course, we can all sit here and say things after the fact now, but me and you, I think we're both on the same page from the beginning in the draft. We had no problem with Devin White, just not at 5.
Right.
So I'll say it again. I'll reiterate that. We had no problem with Devin White, just not at 5. And especially not when he had players just like Josh Allen and everybody there. But the kid is a great kid after watching the interviews. Like I said, I still have questions. I'm just excited to see him actually play in the season to see what he's actually got on an NFL level.
Right.
Because he's going to be tested.
Sure. And if you don't know what you're watching right now, it's Blake and Blake Sports, your daily rewind show, I guess, for Bucs news around the NFL, NBA, baseball, whatever you want to talk about. It's like the sports web, except it's with yours truly, along with Mr. Blake Cable, live here at Ferg's. If you missed the big time announcement during the preseason and regular season, we're going to be out here having watch parties. We want you fans to come out, join us. We'll be giving you that content that you want to talk about, getting you ready for the Bucs games. And there's going to be a lot of Bucs games this year on the road. In fact, from 3 to 10, they're all road games. And oh yeah, by the way, we're getting up early for that 9:30
London game.
Yeah. Are you going to be out here for that?
Depends on the schedule.
Again, we're live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue here on Bucs Report. Again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. So we talked about JPP and the injury. Now these comments come out last night about Gerald McCoy. Go ahead and hit that third button there, and we'll listen to what Gerald McCoy had to say to Mike Carnes of Spectrum Sports 360 about his future with the Bucs going forward. Enjoy.
I know we want to see you on the field. For Bucs fans, will we see you on the field?
I'm going to be playing football somewhere.
Will you be playing in Tampa?
I don't know. We'll see.
What's been the reaction when you go out, you see people? Are they like, man, we need you, we don't go? What kind of reaction have you been getting?
Just here to be supportive tonight. So, just fans know I love them. I'll be on the field at some point.
And we're back here on on Blake and Blake Sports, ready to say the sports web. Gonna get confused here. Live at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cable. Had a little bit of a tech issue there, but we're okay. No Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy today. I'm missing my checks and balances guy, but he'll be back next week. So with those comments to Mike Carnes of Spectrum Sports 360, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's here? Because, again, the big time outrage was what he did on Instagram. You felt strongly about this. In fact, we had a special edition of Blake and Blake Sports on Tuesday night. You had some film breakdown, and some of it was favorable. A lot of it, though, in my opinion, when he's got one-on-one matchups, he's not necessarily able to beat that. It kind of echoes what Arians said. He's not the same player he was 4 years ago, although Arians says in the comments, and I kept on reading them, that he still would be a starter on this team. So your opinion at this point, do you believe that McCoy is going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, or eventually do they cut him or trade him? And these comments kind of signify where his head is, right?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this as a player standpoint. What do you expect him to say? It's not at his control. As of right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still paying him, so they're going to still show up to work. As far as now what's going to happen, we don't know. We don't know what the Buccaneers and Jason Light got working in the work. So That doesn't surprise me that he said that, because he knows he's not stupid. He sees all the social media and all the news in Tampa Bay, and knowing that people want him gone and they're talking about his salary and moving him. So
why not
it's
just
up in
show
the
up?
air.
Why not just show up to voluntary? I
It's
get
over
it.
now.
He may, right, but again, why not show up? You know, in good faith. You're learning a new system. You have a new coach. Even the coach called you out to a certain degree, but maybe that's motivation for you. You want to learn a new system. I get it. He's had multiple new coaches, but show up, show out, and then let them take care of the situation financially. Because again, as we talked about ad nauseum with this team, they have one of the worst salary cap situations in the NFL. They have 3 unsigned draft picks, which they signed 5 out of the 8, so they still have to sign Devin White, Jamal Dean, and I'm trying to think of the other player, Mike Edwards, the safety out of Kentucky. You have to find room for that. So in essence, it doesn't seem like McCoy has a lot of trade value. I think the organization is kind of waiting for an injury to happen to a defensive tackle, and then they can maybe have that leverage. But right now, the Bucs have no leverage. But in saying that, this is the first time McCoy hasn't showed up. It doesn't seem like he really wants to. It doesn't seem like he really wants to be here.
I mean,
Just
to be
my
honest,
opinion.
I know you're big on showing up for them, but it's shorts and a t-shirt.
I mean, just
camp.
think about it. You have a new boss.
But Peter, they're
and-
not in pads in this. They're in shorts and a t-shirt. They're basically just running wind sprints and stuff like that. That's basically all they're doing. They're not lined up in pads. They're not hitting each other. They're basically doing conditioning. That's why you saw 2 players from Seattle get cut for failed conditioning, which was Cam Chancellor, God rest him, with his neck issue.
Right,
Sad to see.
Seattle.
Hate
Right.
to see anybody go out like
Sure.
that. And what was the other one? Wagner and not Wagner. Chancellor. It was 2 Seattle players. Chancellor.
It's Doug Baldwin.
Baldwin,
yes.
Yeah, for failed physicals.
Sure.
And McCoy looks great this offseason. He actually lost weight. So, I mean, he
Went vegan.
Yeah, he
Which
lost,
I could never do. We already talked
he
about
lost
that.
weight. So,
Never.
I mean,
Not at Ferg's, sorry.
Oh, no, definitely
Chicken
not.
wings, the food itself is just great.
There's just no way you're going vegan there.
No, not
Yeah.
at all. Never.
Yeah, but they're
I'm
just
never eating vegetables.
We talked about that. Don't bring your veggies. We talked about
Just
last
don't
time.
bring your veggies. Exactly. All right, go ahead. Keep on going.
Yeah, I'm just saying, this is shorts and t-shirts. It really doesn't show anything, but they're conditioning them. By the look of Gerald, I don't think that's really an issue right now. It's conditioning.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I somewhat agree with you because it is just, at this point, it's
Shorts
not
and a t-shirt.
Shorts and a t-shirt.
That's it.
But the deal at the end of the day is, if you have a new coach, you do everything to him to impress him, especially when you're getting called out, right? So go in there, do what you're supposed to do, let the front office take care of it. Somebody said if he gets injured, then basically he's playing it smart. He's guaranteed any way it goes. So if he gets injured, the Bucs are on the hook. And the whole thing came up with, possibly Coach Arians told him to stay away. That's not true. He said, come to camp. You're a part of this team. So this is on McCoy. And that outburst is a bad optic. It doesn't look good. It looks like a player that basically is trying to force his way out, much like Antonio Brown and other players in the past. Is that fair?
Well, that's not even comparison.
Okay.
Gerald McCoy to Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown quit on his team. Antonio Brown dogged his players out. McCoy's not even in that same bracket.
Sure.
His issue is more with the way the organization, like I've said previously, it's the way they handle veterans, and it's been piss poor over the past decade.
Okay. All right, let's go out to Bucs Report. I'm going to read some comments here. We're live at Ferg, Central Avenue, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete on Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. We'll have Travis Fadley here, my Rocket Sports insider, Lightning insider here. We'll be talking maybe some hockey, most likely some NBA and more around the NFL and about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here live on the Sports Web. So Matt says I'll be on the field somewhere. McCoy needs to come in and work things out, go elsewhere, but stop talking. And that's the biggest problem for me because it's not the first time maybe this outburst, but he's always talking, and I think that rubs some fans the wrong way.
He needs to stay off social media. That'll help him out. A lot of players don't even look at it.
Okay. And you even said on Tuesday night you think he went about it the wrong way, so it's a bad optic. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but the Bucs feel like he's not worth $13 million. Is that fair?
That's true. I mean, if
Okay.
you're talking about, but that's what they paid him. That's what they agreed to him when he was a free agent. I mean, if they should have thought about this coming on the back end of his career when they gave him that contract.
Sure.
But the Buccaneers were so in need to keep Gerald McCoy because you had nothing left.
Why not
at that-
restructure if he wants to be here?
I mean,
to help the team out?
Who's going to take a pay grade on a losing team? We talked about that as well. People take pay cuts on winning teams to keep the structure together.
Sure.
I.e. Tom Brady and many other players that's been on winning teams to get other pieces in or to keep pieces there. We're not. We just won 5 games in a crapshoot last year between a quarterback controversy. Your head coach has no idea what he's doing. Why would you take a pay cut on that kind of roster?
Well, because you want to get better. I mean, here's a player that talks about all the time, I need help, I need this, I need that, it's almost like he's
9
got
years too late.
LeBron syndrome. I need this, I need that. You're great. If you're so great, make everybody else around you great. If not, do something different. If you repeat the same thing over and over again, that's called insanity. Do you want to get better? Right?
But football's a little bit different than basketball. One person doesn't account for 10 others.
But
NBA,
one person
you can do that.
make a difference if he takes a pay cut of $13 million. He frees up that cap. You're able to sign your draft picks, and then on top of it, possibly go out in the second wave of free agency, maybe get a Muhammad Wilkerson, or at the time, if they did free it up, you could get an Ezekiel Ansah who may miss a month of the first season.
He already went to Seattle. I don't know if you saw that.
Right, I know that, but before the fact, he signed for $5 million.
But did he?
If McCoy, before the fact, if they came to him, and we don't know if they came to him or not. We don't know if they came.
We don't know. That's what I'm talking about. The Buccaneers aren't known for doing things that make sense. They should have went to Gerald McCoy and talked this situation out a long time ago.
Right.
Until now, you let it fester, you let it linger around your whole offseason, and it's just a dark cloud sitting over this whole offseason now. We can't even talk about the draft picks and all that because we just keep talking about the McCoy situation. This should have been dead a long time ago, and it goes to the inexperience of our owners and our leadership, I'm going to just say our management team, of how to handle these situations.
Right.
Time and time again, we run into these situations. You just went through it with Deshaun Jackson. You let him linger around for far too long.
Oh, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But I think that was more not just the ownership, but Jason Light and also Dirk Cutter telling Jason Light, look, we got to win now. If we get rid of Deshaun Jackson, we may not have as many
aftermath
wins.
of that.
Right.
When it really
well, it's cancerous in that locker room.
At that point, when everybody knew that.
Sure.
And you're doing the same thing again with McCoy. To be honest, if you're going to cut cap space, I said this honestly, I like him, but Will Golston has been unproductive for 3 seasons, but yet he's still on this roster for $5 million. Why?
Well, because he's depth, because at the time right now you had JPP, now you may not have JPP for the next 5 to 6 months, a whole year. He plays defensive end. Plus, he's versatile. He can play defensive tackle also.
But you're getting no production out of him.
Maybe you get production out of him with the new defense and new coaching. Is that possible?
You went from 0 sacks to 1 sack in 2 years. He said last year that he should have known he would have, not 2017, he should have been cut. He should have been cut because he had 0 sacks, he had 0 production. So you're paying this guy premium a contract for 0 production. Everybody's talk is contract money, but why aren't you mentioning Will Golston? He's taking up $5 million and doing nothing. At least McCoy got 6.5 sacks last year. William Golston didn't get any if he got 1.
That's true.
But you want to keep him?
And you're watching Blake
Story's
and Blake.
not consistent here.
You're watching Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Campbell. Good stuff. I like the passion, and we're live here at Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, 1320 Central Avenue. The big-time announcement on road games. We will have watch parties going on. We'll have I think, probably have it inside, probably set up a stage, because out in the sun here, but definitely, the sun is just blazing today. You've got to love the Florida heat. You kind of like it when it's a little breezy. It's just blazing down. So most likely we'll have it inside. We'll have your pre-shows and content. We'll figure all that out. But what you need to know is that there's going to be watch party shows when the Buccaneers are on the road. You're definitely going to be in there. Tampa, Ray Kennedy, Al Keck, Pat Yasinskis possibly, Leo Haggerty possibly. Who knows? Sean the Sports Don. I can't. He's like a hermit at this point. I mean, Sean the Sports Don, what are you scared of? Are you scared of the sports web? You used to be the co-host. You used to come out here, have that sports swag on Saturday afternoons. Are you going to come back? Are you going to bring it? Go ahead, call him out. Call out Sean the Sports Don.
Sean, he's been ducking and hiding. There's nothing to talk about. So he's got to come out from under the rock.
He's been like Gerald McCoy not showing up to voluntary camp. How about that? All right. Let's go out to Bucs Report. BucsReport.com. Again, join our 61,000 following on Facebook. McCoy is a baby. Somebody says, again, if he gets injured during voluntary contract is voided, no one will sign. He's playing smart. Corey Brown, Rays and Bucs, worst salary cap space. No, the Rays don't have salary. They don't have worse salary cap space. They just choose not to spend it. The Bucs don't have the money to spend it.
Because we invested in it poorly.
Well, I mean, but you had to invest in your young players, right?
Well, we overpaid for free agents was the issue.
Right.
You overpaid Ryan Jensen. You said you overpaid for Deshaun Jackson for the amount of production you got.
Agree.
And that's because of the
Jason Light has made his fair share of mistakes. That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Well,
and he's compounded it in the draft.
Yeah.
So, but hey, look, you've got new coaching now on both sides of the ball. You have to feel optimistic. I said 10-6. I guess I have to stick with it because somebody told me I have to stick with it. But that prediction may change, especially with the status of because that's your best defensive lineman, and you may miss him for the whole year. Yeah. Johnny says, why show up voluntary workouts if you don't know they're going to sign you? Why chance any injury and walkthroughs? Good point.
That's true. That's just business.
And welcome back, Johnny, by the way, to Blake and Blake Sports.
I even think about that aspect, Johnny. That's why we keep you around, man. No, I'm just kidding.
No, absolutely.
You
Johnny's
always bring aspects like that, and again, that's on him. That's McCoy wants to keep his money so he don't miss out on nothing. You would do the same thing. Anybody?
Sure.
Y'all got to get this aspect out of your head that this is for the love of the game. It's not for the love of the game anymore. Antonio Brown should have been the eye-opening part of it all. It's a business.
But I'll say
it's about money.
If it's fair, if we're playing on the same playing field, if a player overperforms his contract, a player expects for him to tear up that contract and do a contract extension. But if a player underperforms, he expects to get paid the same. So it has to be a two-way street, and it's not.
Well, I agree with that, but that falls back on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or any ownership for that matter. You should have that written in your contract when you have that to them. If you underperform, then you are subject to take a pay cut, or you could be released without having any cap against me. Those are all things you could talk about with your agent.
Even he knew after the season, the writing was on the wall that he wasn't going to be here.
But he's.
So why is he acting surprised?
The pressure's not on him. I said he's still going to get paid. I said the pressure's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're the ones out of money.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. You come in, you show the rookies how to be professional players. Shorts and T-shirts or not, it's the optics. That's a good quote or a good text by Matt in OKC. Johnny, look at all the injuries that occur in practice. Agree. Sue better than McCoy. Corey doing some trolling today, like always. Love Corey.
Corey has more sacks than Sue if you just want to go by sacks.
That's true.
So
looky here, who's in the building? We will have him on. Travis Straley, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to Blake and Blake Sports. How you doing, bud?
How you doing, guys? Love the show today. We've got some great knowledge going out, and it's a little hot. It's a beautiful day out in Ferg, though, man. I tell you, come down here, get yourself a beer, iced tea, some chicken wings.
Yeah, absolutely.
At first I thought it was Ric Flair behind us.
I'm telling you, go do it. There you go. So we'll have Travis Straley. We'll have a special edition of the Sports Web. Blake Cabell, yours truly, along with Travis Straley. We'll have all three mics in the building. Have a new mixer now. I did not mention him, but your brother works for him. Sam Ash Music. 95 years of your musical needs. Yeah, long time. Just like you, old, man.
Oh, no.
But
better stay young.
Old and getting better, though.
That's right, like a fine wine.
926 McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. Tell them the Sports Web, Blake and Blake Sports sent you. All right, so let's go back to, and of course we'll have Travis Straley on here in a little bit when we wrap up Blake and Blake Sports. It is hot out here, though, so we'll definitely give you guys a rest. Not a lot to do in OTAs for linemen. You won't get injured.
I didn't mention that, but that's true.
You won't get injured during running wind sprints. The new coaches would probably give a 9-year veteran a pass. John Gruden really worth $100 million? No. But look, Mark Davis wanted to pay John Gruden $100 million for 10 years. He wasn't going to say no to it. I think he's more of a...
shares to the team.
Right. Well, I think he's better football X's and O's guys than player personnel, but I will give him credit. Him and Mayock in the draft did a pretty good job, I believe.
I think the whole thing with Mark, why he signed Gruden, and that was more him to take more control of the operations of the team, so Mark wouldn't have to really step in, and he brought in somebody he trusts. That's why it didn't really surprise me that they offered him all that, so Mark he wouldn't have to worry about all those other things with the Oakland Raiders or the Vegas Raiders, whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why he brought in Gruden, somebody they can trust to run those football operations in Oakland.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Optics crap. Johnny says the league bargained for voluntary for a reason. A torn hammy and a useless drill ain't worth it, especially when you aren't getting signed. Good point. Football is tough of a sport. Take a pay cut on a bad team. Agree. Corey's back. Good thing Corey is back. We love that.
Corey's always there. He's always been there.
Working hard at Olive Garden and Port Richey. I'm going to go see him one of these days.
Yeah, it's time to troll him at work.
Just troll him at work. All right. What's going on, Jeremiah? Should have traded him. The problem with trading him,
you have no value.
He has no value because everybody knows, and the report that came out this week from Albert Breer was saying that the Devin White train wasn't all certain, especially if Quinnen Williams would have dropped in the Bucs' lap.
Lord.
They most likely would have taken Quinnen Williams and then most likely cut McCoy or traded him, most likely cut him, and there would have been several interested teams out there. What do you think of that report? Because it kind of matches up with what we've been saying on Blake and also the sports web. If you find a younger replacement for McCoy, then you don't necessarily have to pay him, and you feel good about that situation because coming into the draft process, Williams to me clearly was the best player in this draft. Just my opinion.
I agree, but even if you drafted Williams, it serves you. You're not better off cutting McCoy and keeping Bo Allen and Will Golston. Production, you're gonna get rid of production versus zero production.
You love William Golston.
It don't make sense. You keep lack of production,
get him out here,
but get rid of production. It don't make sense.
Okay. Bo Allen, not a Bo Allen fan?
Do something. Like I say, everybody wants to point out these stats.
Right.
But you got two guys getting paid premium contracts that are putting up no stats, but yet you're not mentioning it.
Right.
Why are you keeping them if they're not putting up no stats? Especially William Golston. I had high expectation for the guy because he was versatile. I'm like, he could play inside and out, but he's done nothing.
Yeah.
He even admitted he's done nothing. And so if you talk about the writings on the wall, he knew the writing was on the wall, but yet he's still on the roster.
Some people say Cam Brate, and I say, well, this team got rid of Adam Humphries, and they got rid of Deshaun Jackson.
His contract expired.
Well,
and he earned that money.
They could have signed him, but he didn't fit their system. And he also was a security blanket for Winston. That's why I don't think they go in that direction. But you never know. You really do. Never know. Colin Kaepernick worth $13 million after 3 Super Bowls. He will be. I don't know what that's all about. I don't think Colin Kaepernick's got 3 Super Bowls. Yeah. Who do you all think will win the slot wide receiver battle? I like the rookie Miller's speed, but he's a rookie. I think that is Brashard Perryman's job to lose. When he's able to get the opportunity with the Browns, he was able to put up some statistics, be more consistent with his hands. He has the speed. He definitely has the potential first-round pick, but has never been able to stay healthy. And again, going back to the hands thing, to me, it's Perryman's job to lose, but you don't draft Miller if you don't think there's some competition. So what do you say?
Well, both Miller and Perryman are a lot alike. They're very fast, but they're not like Humphries. Quick. You'd rather be quick than fast. Quick can get you open and get separation from defenders. Fast, I mean, that's good when you're running in a straight line and running go routes and long line rub routes and stuff like that with a lot of Tyreek Hill they did in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But what Adam Humphries was good at was, for number one, great hands, which I'm not sure if both the rookie and Perriman are as good, as reliable as Humphries is catching the pass. Well, but that's yet to be seen now with the new system. But that's the only thing Humphries was reliable at, was the hands and just getting open and field. He wasn't a blazing speed guy, but he knew how to get open and sit in gaps. That's what you want out of your slot receiver. It's not just running fast. It's the ability to get open. Jerry Rice, one of the greatest receivers of all time, did not run a fast 40, but he knew how to get open.
Would he run a 4.6 or something?
Anquan Bolden, quarterback switched to wide receiver, ran a 4.6 or 4.7. 4.7. You know how to get open. Yep. That's all you have to do. Being top end speed is great, but it's running in a straight line. It's a lot easier to cover than somebody running dig routes and comebacks and drags and zag, zing, whatever routes you want to call it.
Just making up routes here. Sun's getting to you. Yeah. And we're here live at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill. Been around since 1992 here on Central Avenue, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cowell on Blake and Blake Sports. Again, the sports web, an extension of this, live on Bucs Report. If you want to get some great Bucs content, go to bucsreport.com. It is absolutely. And then
Website's
join
incredible.
our 61,000 following on Facebook. So let's read some more comments, and then we'll get on and talk about some of these draft picks, because we really didn't get a chance to.
No, we really didn't talk on them a lot.
No, and you weren't here, and I missed you, and I'm glad you're back, and I'm hoping you're going to be here every week from now on. Because Blake and Blake Sports, we can't do Blake and Blake Sports without the other Blake.
It'd be just one Blake, not two.
Oh, but that's it. Well, that would be the Sports Web.
Yeah.
Which can be seen here nightly on Bucs Report. Exclusively. And, of course, the other big-time announcement, John Sable of ABC Action News will be on Monday night. Do you work on that night?
You talking about this upcoming one? Yeah.
You do work that night. All right, so it'll be yours truly along with John Sable from ABC Action News Channel 28. So we'll have him on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. He get an injury settlement, somebody said. Johnny says Bruce Arians destroyed any value we could have got for GMAC, also destroyed any hope GMAC had of getting a decent contract in another team. It's been handled poorly by all involved.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Arians, I don't blame him for he just got here.
I don't understand why he came out and said that, unless you were trying to motivate him to take a pay cut, and then again, he's not going to take a pay cut. But I look at the comments, he did say he's not the same player 4 years ago. You don't do that if you want to trade a player. But he says he could still start on my team. He's still a 3 technique. He'll get every opportunity. So I really didn't understand the comments. I think Arians is a straight shooter and was just talking straight,
Yeah, I don't think he thought about it at that time.
Right. So I think that you're exactly right. You, Peter, said that Tom Brady takes a pay cut every time, but not every player has $1 million wife. But my point is that's very true. But the thing is, Tom Brady takes a pay cut because he wants the Patriots to continue. You look around the NFL, it's happened before, it'll happen again, where a quarterback signs for a big-time deal, and then basically the team is ruined because you can't sign the other remaining players.
Seattle Seahawks.
Yep. Doug Baldwin gone because he couldn't. But eventually they're going to have. They've torn that team down, and they're trying to rebuild it. You lose.
They're building through the draft again. That's what they're doing.
Which is the way you have to do it.
That's the way Pete Carroll's been successfully doing it.
Right.
He's run a great program over there.
I agree. Sorry, no trolling at my work. Not allowed. Will you troll me at my work?
Yeah.
So we have to do the same thing.
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you, Corey Brown. All right, Blake Hump was a great route runner, very physical as well, but I don't think he fit the system with Bruce Arians. Didn't have enough speed.
We won't know now because Bruce Arians is here and he took money to go to the Titans, so we'll never know that story.
All right, I don't know if this is true or not. I think Corey is trolling. We'll have to check this. Breaking news just in. Gerald McCoy got traded to the Browns for Duke Johnson Jr. Can we check that?
So why would we pick up another running back?
Well, no, if we traded, if that's true, Corey, are you trolling us? Because if you're trolling us, that's not cool.
My phone didn't go off,
yeah,
so I don't know about all that.
I don't see anything. I think you're just, but that was talked about. That was one of the rumors that was talked about. It was reported.
I mean, I don't know why everybody's so infatuated with Duke Johnson. I loved him in college, but he couldn't stay healthy to save his life.
I think there's people out there that don't necessarily believe in Peyton Barber, although I don't think it's fair to say what he can do with an offensive line that hasn't been very good. And if that offensive line can improve, I think, of course, he's going to improve. But also the question is Ronald Jones. Jason Light comes out, says he's going to make a big jump. He's impressed coaches. Some people don't believe that because of last year.
Right.
So Duke Johnson, to them, feels like a backup running back, possibly a starter if a Barber or Jones goes down or is ineffective. So that's my thought. What do you think?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's yet to be told on Ronald Jones.
Not on the Ronald Jones train?
Last year, it says everything you needed to know about Jones.
Could it be coaching? I mean, could it all be coaching?
Coaching has nothing to do with him not knowing what to do.
You have to get a player ready. You have to develop a player.
He has to get himself ready. He's a professional.
He doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know how to pass protect.
That's on him.
So why aren't you putting him in situations to excel?
Why would you put him in a game knowing he doesn't know what he's doing?
Okay.
That's just setting yourself up for failure.
Well, that's what a lot of these coaches have done with Mike Smith on the defense. So why would it be surprising on the offensive end? Right?
I mean, why would you want to mess up the only thing you got going right? It was the offense last year. 26 a game.
To a certain degree until they got into the red zone and then they imploded.
Yes, we don't run the ball. So
okay. So is it possible they didn't use Ronald Jones and they didn't get the most out of him, and because you have all these coaches on the staff, you're going to be able to do that with Jones?
Yeah.
It's about developing. But it's also, it's not, you're not trying to rebuild, you're trying to reload, like he would say.
Yeah, and this coaching staff, I think he's going to get better coaching and a better direction with what he's doing than he did under Cutter and Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Because those guys really wasn't developing anybody. I don't think they really had plans on a progression chart for these guys. And I think talking to a couple of players, I think they're pretty much on the same page as well. Yeah. So I think they're glad moving on from that regime, we'll say.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's see here. Just cut JPP. God bless him, but he's barely going to give us anything, and I don't see him playing at all this season. Wow. I don't believe 5 or 6 months cut him, save $8 million. He's already got $7.5 in March.
Save 8 to do what with it? That's my question.
Well, now all the free agents are gone.
That's what I'm saying. You save 8.
I mean, you could get Muhammad Wilkerson. You want Muhammad Wilkerson?
I love when he was a young player, and then he started getting hurt, and then he hasn't been the same since.
Could he work in Todd Bowles' system?
Well, he played with Todd Bowles already.
Right. All right. So it's possible. He's an upgrade over somebody who has a broken vertebrae. Come on now, Blake. All right, so JBB is damaged. $8 million we can save this season. Tom McKinn says not cool against to Corey Brown's trolling. RJ needs to go. We already have 4 or 5 running backs on the roster. Of course, Bruce Anderson. What are your thoughts on Bruce Anderson as an undrafted free agent? And then we're going to take a break for a minute.
About the boy at North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Very successful program. That's where Carson Wentz has been at. And they ran a pretty good program, but can the guy transition from college on that level to the NFL is really the question. We've seen Ronald Jones is having struggle with, so you have D1 players that struggle with that. So it's really the question of how he meshes with this NFL system.
All right, and Ronnie says Maurice Stovall turned heads off-season, so I'll just wait and see with Rojo. Good point.
I just saw him at the draft party.
Yeah? So how's he doing?
He's doing good. We exchanged
numbers. We got to get him out here.
We exchanged numbers. We had a good talk.
You're the guy right here that knows all these football players, and yet I always see your face. Get some other football players. Not a bad thing. And we're live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell on Blake and Blake Sports. Who's the Bucs punt returner? That's a good question. Is that Perryman? Is that Miller? Possibly. We'll see what happens. Now, I really hope Romo has a good year. Just for Blake. Boy, that song is just, I'm getting tired of that song, that horse song. Somebody coming by and playing that. Way too loud, by the way, way too loud. But that's that motorcycle guy that comes by. Rojo is not an NFL caliber player. He must not know how to read a playbook, but it also comes down to a coaching staff getting you prepared for a playbook, putting you in those situations and understanding
how can you prepare somebody to read something.
Well, if you know that he's not picking it up, then you've got to do everything in your power to simplify it, correct? Just like you do with a rookie quarterback. Simplify the playbook.
They're adults. They have to do their half as well. Okay. As far as coaching, like, he can't make him pick him up. He can't make him retain that information in his head. He can put you in and put you in the situations that you should succeed. Now you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
That's not on the coach. Arians has to work with what he got, but that's on Light drafting him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rojo, Johnny says trade deadline. Use the $8 million at the trade deadline. Let's just keep JPP out of good grace and below the $8 million when we have the worst cap. Duke for Rojo, Jeremiah, that would be nice, but I don't think Rojo at this point has any trade value.
No.
And then Winston wins MVP 2019 and 20. Corey, I actually kind of believe that he could have a turnaround season at this juncture. Let's talk about the draft. Of course, Devin White, number 5. You feel good about it, except he was the number 5 pick. But
I had no beef with it.
The explanation of Arians and Todd Bowles using him, are you liking it? Not only rushing him from inside and being a cover linebacker, but also rushing him from the edge. Do you think this can work?
Yeah.
A lot of pundits say he's rookie of the year.
I said that in pre-draft talk. He's great. I give him an A+ at rushing the passer. Now it was all the other intangibles, power, run game.
Sure.
I didn't see him excel when you played Alabama. They ran for 300 yards on your LSU defense. You put up no points against Alabama. Those are the games I look at. I don't look at the games where they're playing powder puff teams like Louisiana Tech and you monster up a defensive touchdown and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what you should do in those games. When I look at Alabama games, that's the stuff where I measure how a guy is, and he didn't take over that game. Pretty much everybody disappeared that game. Greedy Williams, all these guys that were shut down players, they got shut down on the big time field. So
Throwing
I mean,
shade out there. We need some shade right
well,
now.
I'm just saying, like, you look at these highlights, but you got to look at the lowlights, too.
Sure.
What did you do against top competition?
All right.
That's when you want to measure somebody. What did you do against top competition?
I agree, and I think that's why
And
Clayton
Alabama's as
Burrow,
close as you're going to get to it.
Clayton Burrow went number 4, and Jonah Williams went a little bit later because Burrow absolutely dominated Williams in the championship game. Even though Jonah looked great all year long, when he had to play tough competition, he didn't look very good. So let's see here. What other draft picks? I know you were a little bit disappointed with them not going for a defensive end until the 4th round. What do you know about Anthony Nelson? You like him? You're reading scouting reports, not necessarily athletic. More to me of like a Carl Nassib. You know, not necessarily athletic, will surprise you. I think Nassib's a little bit more athletic, doesn't necessarily have the bend like you talk about. But what do you see out of him?
He's a more athletic William Golston. He's long and lengthy. Same height,
It's a good
6'7". Yeah, he's more athletic than Golston. Golston never had that bend. Golston has a lot of tendencies like Montez Sweat. You got that lanky body, but you don't really use it to your advantage to get around offensive tackles and stuff like that. You're more run into them, and then hopefully you slide off and make a play type of deal. But I like the kid. I think he's gonna fare well, better than William Golston has with his unproduction over the past 3 seasons. So I think he's an upgrade. And again, I don't think you need Golston at this point once you drafted Nelson.
You have a problem with corners with Jamal Dean, Sean Bunting?
Of course I do in a
Edwards?
draft full of defensive linemen, but what's done is done.
Right.
What's done is done.
Any players stick out? Is it Bunting to you? Is it
Bunting
Dean?
played really well, and a lot of people keep saying, oh, well, they don't play anybody. Well, if you play for Central Michigan, if you have half a brain, that means when you play in Central Michigan, what's that mean? You play the other Michigan teams. So that means he played Michigan State, and he played Michigan as well. So don't say they didn't play anybody.
Good
No,
point.
they didn't play anybody. So
Sure.
to give up no touchdown passes all season, again, you could say competition, but if it was really that easy, then you go out and do it.
Yeah, okay. All right, good stuff. And I tell you what, we're wrapping up on that. Any final thoughts?
Let Devin White be Devin White. I already said this before. I just seen where him and Derek Brooks were talking, and people talking about, oh, hopefully he can fill those shoes. Don't start that already.
Saying Derek Brooks.
I told you.
Jr.
Didn't I call this? I said I'm not going to say
like
it anyway.
Lavonte David, and I look back at a draft
that just
profile
blew-
that had Jared Davis the next Ray Lewis. He has not been the next Ray Lewis. So all those comparisons.
They said Monte Te'o was going to be the next Ray Lewis.
There you go. And his girlfriend, wouldn't want to say it.
Stop that.
All right. And my final thought is the fact of, look, if you fans want a voice out there to talk Tampa Bay Buccaneer football on the road games, instead of sitting at home,
be here.
come out to Fergs during the regular season. We'll have you covered here. Yours truly, Blake Cabell, Travis Feely, Al Keck. You never know who's going to be in the building that day, giving you all your Bucs coverage, giving you around the NFL. And we want to get fans. It's streaming out there. There's not anything like this. There's not going to be, because it is the evolution of sports talk television. And it's going to be during the regular season. There's going to be a lot of road games. So stay here. We'll come back here in about, I say, give it us about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe shorter than that. We'll have Mr. Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my Tampa Bay Lightning insider. Maybe get the latest about the Tampa Bay Lightning, talk about the NBA, and more Bucs talk here live on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. For Blake Cabell, I'm your host, Peter Blake, live here from Fergs, giving you something to think about. We'll see you later. 4.